What if I told you that hidden on your computer right now is a single file, a file that, when you look at it through the lens of information theory, is actually bigger than the entire observable universe? Sounds impossible, right? Well, let's go find this thing and figure out how that can possibly be true.
I know. That is a super dramatic claim. It sounds like pure sci-fi clickbait. But just stick with me here, because we're about to go on a little digital treasure hunt to find this exact file on your own machine. And in the process, we're going to unravel the science that makes this seemingly impossible idea actually true.
So this idea of a universe on your PC, it sounds nuts. And look, in a literal physical sense, you're absolutely right. Your hard drive is not about to collapse into a black hole. But this whole paradox is a really cool way to get your head around how your computer actually thinks and how it manages the insane mountains of data we all create every single day.
Okay, first things first, where is this legendary file? Well, it's not just sitting in your Documents folder. This thing is so fundamental to how Windows works that the operating system goes out of its way to hide it from you. So let's go find it.
All right, you can follow along with the steps right here. First, you've got to tell Windows you want to see all its secret hidden files. Then, you need to dive down a pretty specific rabbit hole. You're going to go to your C drive, then into Program Data, then find Microsoft, then Search, keep going into Data, then Applications, and finally a folder just called Windows. And boom, there it is, Windows.edb.
So if you go ahead and right-click on that file and check out its properties, you'll see, well, this. On my machine, it's about 4.6 gigabytes. Hold on a second. That's smaller than a single 4K movie. How in the world is this supposed to be larger than the universe? Okay, this is where the real fun begins. To really get this paradox, first we have to understand what this file actually does. See, it's not storing your family photos or your video games. It's storing information about your information. You can think of it as your computer's own personal, super efficient librarian. So the official name for this whole system is the Windows Search Index, and that Windows.edb file is its brain. Its entire job 24/7 is to catalog pretty much everything on your computer, so when you type something into that search bar, the answer just pops up instantly, not minutes later.
You know, the best way to think about this is like one of those old-school card catalogs in a library. The library itself has millions of books. That's like your terabytes of data. But the card catalog? It's just a small set of drawers. It doesn't actually hold the books, just a tiny card that tells you exactly where to find every single one. Windows.edb is that card catalog, but for your entire digital life.
And what a catalog it is. We're not just talking about file names here. No. This thing is reading the actual text inside your Word documents, your PDFs, your emails, even your chat logs. It's indexing all the metadata, like who wrote a file and on what date. It's the reason you can type some random phrase you vaguely remember from a report you wrote 3 years ago, and it just appears instantly.
Okay, so it's a really powerful search index. I get it. But that still doesn't explain the whole bigger than the universe thing. To get that, we have to totally shift our thinking away from physical size, gigabytes, and towards the theoretical size of what's called its information space. So get this. Physicists have actually calculated a theoretical limit for the amount of raw information that could possibly be stored in the entire observable universe. And the number is it's mind-melting. It's 10 to the power of 122. That's a 1 followed by 122 zeros. This is, for all intents and purposes, the universe's hard drive capacity. It's gigantic, but, and this is the key, it is finite. Now, let's go back to our humble little 4.6 gigabyte file. Its real power isn't in the data it holds. The critical thing to understand is that the file itself, it's just a key. Its true scale, its real size, isn't measured in gigabytes at all. It's measured in the almost unimaginable number of unique questions you can ask it, the total number of possible searches it can perform across all the data it has indexed. There's a concept in math and computer science for this. It's called a combinatorial explosion. Think of it like a box of Legos. If you have 10 bricks, you can build a few different things. But if you have 10,000 bricks of all shapes and sizes, the number of possible combinations you can build just explodes into the trillions. It's basically infinite.
And that's exactly what's happening here. Just think about it. You can search for one word, or a whole phrase, or an email from a specific person that contains a certain word sent after a specific date. The number of potential combinations of all these search terms grows exponentially, creating a space of possible questions that is, for all practical purposes, infinite.
And this is the paradox. The raw information in the universe, as vast as it is finite. It's like a gigantic but ultimately limited hard drive. The Windows.edb file, on the other hand, is a tiny key that unlocks a functionally infinite room of possible questions. Its information space is conceptually unbounded, and that space is what surpasses the finite data of the entire cosmos.
All right, our cosmic journey is officially over. Let's bring this all the way back down to Earth. What does this actually mean for you, sitting at your desk? Should you be worried about this file just gobbling up all your precious disk space?
Well, you actually have a choice. You can go into your settings and turn off the Windows indexing service. If you do, that file will shrink or even delete itself, and you'll get a few gigabytes back. But, I gotta warn you, the next time you search for anything, your PC will have to manually crawl through every single file one by one. It will be painfully, agonizingly slow. For most of us, that instant search is well worth the space.
So, the next time you instantly find a file that you thought was lost forever, you can thank good old Windows.edb. It's just a perfect, mind-bending example of how a few gigabytes of data can act as a key to an information space that is, in a very real, conceptual sense, larger than our own universe.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other infinite spaces are just hiding in plain sight in the technology we use every single day? What other simple files are actually gateways to concepts far bigger than we can even imagine? Pretty cool stuff to think about.